Welcome, Shapers. On this today's episode of Coffee with Leaders, we are delighted to have a guest who is a true leader, social activist, and a hero. This amazing leader has dedicated his time and energy to making the world a better place, and their impact has been felt by many. He is a co-founder of a youth response system in Balochistan called Balochistan Youth Action Committee. This group has so far mobilized and trained over more than 260 volunteers, community champions, and helped over 4 lakh needy and deserving people over 70 villages of Balochistan. They are among the first responders in numerous natural disasters, including earthquakes in October 2021 and the flash floods in January 2022. His work is appreciated by many renowned people like Bill Gates and Paulo Coelho, the writer of famous novel The Alchemist. Also, Mr. Gates recognized him for his work as one of the 7 unsung heroes of the pandemic and wrote about his work in his book How to Prevent the Next Pandemic. Currently, he is a member of Advisory Council of the Global Shapers community and an inspiration to the thousands of community shapers and young leaders across the world who are working to create a positive impact in their societies. It's my honor to welcome our today's guest, Sikander Bizenjo.
No, thank you very much for the very kind introduction and for having me in the show. I hope what I contribute is some sort of meaningful for your audience.
So many shapers from across the world message me to please invite you on the show. There's a lot of curiosity among new shapers, including myself, to know about your work. Could you share with us something about your initial days in GSC and idea?
Yeah.
How the idea to start BYAC come to your mind?
I will start how I joined the Global Shapers, and I would be very honest. It was truly by coincidence. I was working in Islamabad, which was a new city for me. I was working with the government back then, and I have been volunteering for almost a decade now, since my university days. Early university days, I've been involved in different social causes, and I wanted to volunteer in Islamabad as well, do some meaningful work while I was working in the government. And I found out this group called the Global Shapers were doing some plantation drives and stuff. So I did not know what the Global Shapers were. I did not know what their association with the forum is. So I just applied for it, and I was lucky enough that I was selected. When I truly got to know what the Global Shapers was, that was in Shape South Asia in Colombo, where I attended. And there I met people from across the world, and I realized how truly global this community is and what kind of impact they were creating. So that was my first sort of the light bulb moment. You'll see that the about the community, on what can we achieve with this community. How I started BYAC, it was the early days of COVID, very first lockdown. And you can imagine the first lockdown was very hard on many of us, or majority of the world, because we did not know what lays ahead. We did not know if the lockdown will end, what will happen after the lockdown. Many were still optimistic that it's just 5 days of COVID and then it's going to be done with it. When fast forward today, we're still sort of in that COVID phase. So we did not know what's going to happen. And my original roots are from Balochistan. That's where I belong to, which is the southwestern province. And we keep going back and forth. And I was talking to a friend of mine, she's also from Balochistan, on how can we help our own people, because very few people from that province, from those villages, come out to the mainstream. Very few people. You can actually count them on your fingers. So we thought we have a huge responsibility on what can we do to at least help the people in the villages, at least in our own villages, let alone Balochistan, in our own villages. So we decided that we're going to start a campaign where we will target to support 500 families to the maximum. But bringing down that 500, we started thinking that we will start by 50 families from our own pocket money. We will support them, we'll give them ration bags and all these things, but to figure out how the chain of things work. One thing, Gajan, we discussed in the very beginning as well, that during the BYAC, that we will not make it a very perfection. We will not waste time in planning everything. We'll not waste time in the perfection, because this is an extreme situation and we had to act. So that's how we started, and organically it grew to so much. Right now we're touching more than around 500,000 families that we've supported so far since then. From 500 was our main goal back then.
What challenges you have faced in working with communities in remote and isolated areas during COVID time, and how you overcome them?
So The biggest challenge that we faced during COVID time and which we are facing right now as well is of logistics. Because if you're familiar with Balochistan, it's a very rigid terrain. It's full of mountains. There are no road networks. And if you look at in the map, it's you can see all the mountains, the rugged terrain. It is 50% of the landmass of Pakistan, but on less than 10% of population live there. So it's very dispersed. People like there are maybe 30 families in this village, and then 100 kilometers down the line, there's another village with 50 families, something along those lines. So navigating that kind of infrastructure, lack of infrastructure was the biggest challenge. And how we are overcoming this, we have adopted a model of complete informality. That is, I ask my friends and families, someone, another volunteer asked their friends and families, and this is how we're operating. Like, oh, you're going to, let's say, in Turbat, can you please take these books and in your car? And one of our volunteers come on the main road. He's going to stop you at this hour, at this place, on this part of the road, and can you give it to them? This is how we've been operating. And the volunteer comes on the main road, gets the books, gets them on his bike, transports them to a library, and this is how we've been operating. Because otherwise, if you follow the conventional models, like the logistical companies that we have, like DHL and TCS, dude, there's no way you can do. It's a colossal cost that we can't bear. There's no way we can do that.
So a lot of all world has seen your work through economic forums, reports, and all the things. So what is the future goals and plans of BYAC for the for the community in Balochistan and across the province and area?
See, when we started BYC early on, when we knew that we are going to continue it, my co-founder Banadi and I, we both sat and our core team sat. And one thing that we discussed is that it has to be a community-driven thing. It has to be a youth-driven thing. Even if you minus myself, if you minus Banadi, if you minus our core team members, this thing should still function. And right now, I'm not even on the ground yet. Things are functioning. So I think this for me is an achievement. Maybe um, the other things, maybe the number of families is not a big achievement for me, but this thing that we are not directly involved and things are still happening, this is an achievement for me. So we want to continue this. We want to increase our number of followers. We want to increase our number of volunteers. We want to train those number of volunteers in different aspects. For example, I'm thinking of doing a CV writing workshop with them, a LinkedIn workshop with them in the future as well, because many are still students in different schools, colleges, universities, and they do ask for recommendation letters. So we thought maybe this is an helpful. So whenever you're building a community, right, it has to be a two-way thing. Like when the community is delivering something further ahead, those volunteers who are your champions, they should be also getting something, some reward or some sort of thing that is beneficial for the entire ecosystem. So if they are getting jobs, if they're getting into good universities and schools, that is beneficial for entire Balochistan and Pakistan. So it's not like you're paying them or something. This is a reward for their service, their true energy.
So as a global shaper, we have seen your incredible work as a leader. So how do you define leadership and what qualities do you believe are essential for the effective leader?
Man, I still don't know when people ask me about leadership, because I don't know if I'm a leader or not. But one thing that is very close to my heart is always be grounded and humble, because this journey, this ladder that we have defined that goes upwards, this can truly make you someone that you're not. So always remain true to your roots. Always um, remain grounded and know where you come from. What are the struggles, and figure out how you can reduce those barriers for different people. If you have faced something, for example, there's a very common thing that our South Asian parents do. I'm sure your parents would do it as well. That in our time we used to walk this many kilometers. In our time we used to wake up at 5 in the morning. What is wrong with you guys? Every parents do it in South Asia. So my thinking is always reduce those barriers. If I have done something drastic, I don't want the other shapers, the younger shapers, the newer generation to go through the same steps. I don't want every young person from Balochistan to go through the same hardships that I might have gone through. Maybe like improve the lives for the rest. So that is my true motto of whatever work that I do, and always give 100%.
Great. So as a global shaper, we work in 5 different impact areas, and one of them is delivering basic needs. I don't think anyone in the community has done work on so much a massive scale as you. Could you share some important tips with shapers or hubs who want to start projects initiative in this impact area?
Finding the right team, I think that is very critical. Start with people who you can motivate, who can motivate you in return, and also narrow it down. So narrow it down to one area, in geographical area, narrow it down to one specific need as well. For example, if you're giving food supplies, stick to food supplies. Fortunately, our team grew so much that we had bandwidth to do multiple areas, and we were functioning on we were functioning on an extreme event, right? COVID. So one need was so we were figuring out which need was on the top priority, and then we devote all our resources in that need. So our organization was completely different. The structure was completely different. But to the new shapers, those who are starting a project, I would say focus on one area, devote your time in that. You don't have to look for the numbers. I think numbers are just some small thing. If your organization, if the thing that you're creating is truly impactful, numbers are going to bound to come. See, you shouldn't aim for I'm gonna I'm gonna help 500,000 people. You should aim for very small. But if the formula that you're making is truly unique, it's going to reach to millions without even you knowing it.
So, Sikandar, you are the member of Advisory Council of the Global Shapers community. Can you
Yeah.
tell us about the role of Advisory Council in governance of Global Shapers community and your experience as a member of Advisory Council?
Yes. So when I was applying for the advisory council, I towards the end, I wasn't sure if I'm ready, because in my mind, advisory council members have to be well versed with everything the global shapers do. All the charter has to be in your mind, everything has to be there. So I'm like, oh damn, I'm not ready, I don't know these things. And towards the end, a couple of my friends, one is actually from Pune, Aishwarya, she sort of motivated me. She's like, Sikandar, you have to apply, you know the community more than many of us understand, so you have to apply. I'm like, are you sure? Do you think I know the community? She's like, yeah, you do. So you need these motivating factors around you, right? And she was like, you have to apply. So on the final day, I applied, I made a video, and there was a question, why do you want to join the advisory council? And I don't even remember what I said. I'm like, okay, this. Uh, Fast forward, I became part of the advisory council, not knowing the charter. So that's still okay. So through you, through the viewers, I wanted to make it very clear that you don't have to be a sort of a wizard on the global shapers community to become part of the advisory council. You have the If you have the drive, if you think you have the time and energy to work on this, go for it. So what the advisory council do, one of our prime area is sort of making sure, so we are a liaison between the global shapers community and the forum. Whatever the community sort of put forward, we take them to the forum. We have community champions, which are very close to the hub curators, and then we are close to the community champions and the wider audience, and then we take it to the forum. One of another core goal is to solve problems that arise from different hubs, that hubs from within cannot solve. Those conflict, they come to governance, and we have a very like a proper procedure to follow, steps like step one, step two, step three, four, and multiple members. So for example, one member take the lead of the case, and then multiple members support it, and towards the final thing, we conclude this is sort of the way forward, or the final decision of the council. And it takes so I want to be very honest, it takes a lot of time to be a member of the advisory council. For our calls, like last year, our calls used to be at 11 p.m. at night in Pakistan. So you have to be sort of on your A game, that you have to deliver here, because a lot of members, a lot of hubs sort of rely on the advisory council. You cannot just let the ball go. So I think the one thing that I want to say, that if you have the drive, if you have the passion to serve the community in a better way, in a different way, do apply for the advisory council, because they have different channels to work within the community. I worked as a shaper. I loved it. I worked as a curator. I loved it. And then I thought, okay, what next? Can I sort of apply to different roles as well? Then this is how my philosophy has been: learning and delivering, learning and delivering. Do not stick to one thing for so long, and just be comfortable. Get out of your comfort zone. So if you're someone who's willing to get out of your comfort zone at this point, do apply.
Yes. So there are a lot of new shapers in the community. Would you like to give some advice for them? How can they utilize this opportunity to, like, they are the shapers of the one of the most largest NGO in the world, who are working to
Yeah,
make a world a better place to live for the future generations and current generations.
yeah. Uh, I think truly it is one of the largest in the world because we have more than 10,000 active shapers, or well 14,000 plus if you include the alumni as well. So first is to understand how truly global this is. Understand the value, understand the things that shapers. As I said, Gajan, in the very beginning as well, when we were doing the BYAC, we had this in mind that how can you put value in your volunteers in those things, in those champions as well. I think Global Shapers has the same model. How can the Global Shapers HQ or the World Economic Forum add more value to your personal and professional growth? So figure out what are those areas as well. So work on both ways. Deliver to the community, but at the same time, polish your own personal and professional skills through various platforms within the forum. For example, right now you are doing it. That's an excellent example that you're interacting with global audience. You're interacting with someone from Pakistan. You're interacting with someone from, let's say, Ukraine, from XYZ country. And this is how you're maximizing your own potential as well, because you're constantly learning. You're making yourself out of the comfort zone. You're waking up in the morning, you're preparing the questions, you're going through the profiles, you're doing all of these things. This is sort of adding value to your own intellect as well. So figure out what are those things for the new shapers. Figure out what are those things that you can take value from, and what are the things that you can add value. So work on both ways. Adding value, I would say one thing which is very underrated is activities. We're constantly focused on projects, long-term projects, 1 year, 2 year, 5 years down the line. But there's so many things that can be classified as activities, could be one-off, but they are also equally beneficial as projects. So figure out those activities, maybe start going to a government school, start going for a winter clothing drive, something, anything small. Go to a zoo, go to a petting zoo, go to an animal shelter, something along those lines. Do something as an activity. So this way you can bond within your own hub, become like a family, and then in the long term you can do multiple projects.
So, Sikandar, I heard a lot of things about you, about the Davos that you have attended as a shaper, Davos
Yeah,
annual summit. So, can you share some interesting fact about that? I heard from
man.
Radhika Dingra about you met one like a leader from one country, and you are like, what do you do? Such like this.
So Davos for me, Gazana, was a very fascinating experience, because Davos is another word for me. And coming from like where I'm coming from, there's a two extremes of different word. One of my friends has mentioned complete have-nots and those who have. So I think just navigating my way around Davos was a very fascinating experience, to like meeting all these leaders. And I was very confused in the beginning, to be perfectly honest. Like I did not have clear goals. For example, a lot of were going as, we need this amount of funding for our startup. We need this person, this thing. We need this thing. I'm like, I don't even know what I need. I just want to. I'm just going to Davos. So I think that there was, but I, in the middle of Davos, I realized that's okay, and it's adding to my benefit and my advantage, because I'm not going on a strict path. I'm letting my options open, and those options were helping me to meet all these interesting people. I think the thing that Radhika was mentioning. So I was waiting in the coffee line, and I talk to everyone randomly. I don't wait, right? I don't wait. I'm like someone introduced. I'm like, hi. So I'm one of those persons. Yeah. So the someone was waiting for the coffee behind me. I'm like, hi. They're like, hello. I'm like, my name is Sikander. He's like, oh, my name is this. I'm like, what do you do? He's like, oh, I work for the people. I'm like, very nice. I work for the people as well. I thought maybe he's like social venture or something. And then I asked him, he's like, oh, I'm president of that country. I think was it Azerbaijan or Tajikistan, one of those countries. I'm like, okay. Good to meet you, sir. His Excellency. I didn't know what to say. Then he was asked, then we had a conversation. We had a nice one-to-one conversation. He's like, where are you from? I said, I'm from Balochistan in Pakistan. He's like, I know Balochistan. I read it in one of the old storybooks in our country where the fairies came from. I'm like, okay, that's where I'm from. You have to tell me which book was that. But so Davos is full of serendipity. So you don't know, you can't plan, you go there, you meet incredible people. And thank you for asking that question, because a lot of the new shapers who join the community, they don't know that these opportunities exist. So if you are someone who's impactful in the community, you can avail these opportunities. Normally, I have met people who serve their entire life, 30 years, 40 years to get to that point. And as a young person like yourself, if you go to Davos, that's just an incredible experience.
Can you share some memorable moments of your shaper journey?
Loads, man. I think a lot of my recent memorable experiences are from the Shapers journey. Starting from Shape South Asia, that was a memorable one. I got to explore the beautiful country of Sri Lanka with the Shapers, which I knew was beautiful, but I didn't know it's that beautiful. And Shapers made it even more memorable as well. There are certain moments, I think that I cherish forever. One of like couple of moments from Davos, one of the moments, so two particular moments that I have very close to my heart. One is a group hug that we did in Davos, out of and after a musical concert that was very heart touching, that was showing videos and footage of refugees from Ukraine, from Afghanistan, from Syria. And then we all did a group hug after that. We were all, I think, emotional after that, and I think that's something that is very close to my heart. Then towards the end, when we were doing the sharing movement of reflections and everyone was being vulnerable on what did they learn, what can they do after Davos, I think that is something very memorable. And obviously, the Geneva ACM, the annual curators meeting, was truly memorable as well. So a lot of my recent, I think, memories are somehow linked with the shapers.
So, what is the role of global shapers community in your personality development?
A lot, man. Personal, professional, both. I think that the work I currently do is related to the global shapers. My full-time work is also related, somehow related to global shapers. So what I do full-time, I work in a large Pakistani conglomerate. So diversified conglomerate is one of the largest private sector organizations and the only partners of the World Economic Forum from Pakistan. And I think the reason they had hired me 2 years back was the fact that I'm involved with WEF. I know WEF in a way, and they wanted to truly maximize their partnership with the WEF. So what I do for them in that capacity as external engagements manager, I work with the forums, different platforms, and I work with external multilateral forums like Bloomberg New Economy Forum, Atlantic Council. I learn from them, and then I bring these opportunities to the group that these things are happening. These people are here. Meet them. Meet this. So I'm working as a connector of opportunities, of linkages with the wider group, which is more than like 6,000 employees in Pakistan. So I think in my professional capacity, Shapers has impacted as much as in my personal capacity, I would say. Let me share one thing that I've not had the opportunity to share, which I think is
Yeah,
very, very important.
pleasure.
Is the use of Toplink, because I think a lot of the shapers are not yet taking the true advantage of Toplink. That's where all the activities happen. So if you're doing something, you must put it on Toplink. You must share with the wider community, make everyone like aware, learn from each other, share with each other, do cross-hub collaborations. So for the new shapers, I think that is something that I would say is a key. Get yourself in Toplink, explore other hubs, talk to other hubs. I do a lot of these Toplink trainings. One of my friends, Adam, also does these Toplink trainings. So many other these shapers who have worked on Toplink a lot can do Toplink trainings for different hubs. So do attend one of these trainings as well. I think Toplink is a wonderful tool to use.
So, what is your future goals for the your professional life and your social life?
No idea, man. I think that if you had asked me this question 5 years before, I still had no idea. If you're asking me right now, I still have no idea. I think one of my strong beliefs is just make your path clear. Do your 100%. Things figure out themselves. Don't focus too much on planning your life that you miss out on the opportunities that life gives you. So take the opportunities whenever you see a fit. Don't be comfortable. But I would say that's a mantra that I keep to my heart. If I am comfortable in a job, I don't want to do that job anymore because I'm too comfortable. And this is I'm at that stage where I can't afford to be comfortable to my own self, to my own intellect. So if I'm not adding value to the organization, or if organization is not adding value to me, then there is a red flag. That means this is time for me to move on to something else. So yeah, these are my clear mantras. I don't have very long ambition, long goals. Obviously, BYC, continue BYC, make it bigger. Maybe at some stage, once we are truly in Balochistan, we want to expand to the rest of the provinces, rest of the provinces as well. But right now, Balochistan is such a huge, I would say, a gap that I don't think an organization like BYC can fill it. Even government can't fill it at this stage. What we are going through. So I think just true to my work, true to my goals, and let's see where the life takes you.
So many reports are published on like forums website, and recently Al Gore mentioned during one of his interview in forums platform that more than 1 billion people need to like displace from one location to another location due to the climate change problems and all the things
Yeah,
like that. So
yeah.
have you created some case study for of your work so that people can study and implement in their areas if such problems happen in their areas?
That is a good idea, man. That is certainly a good idea. That's something it's been in my mind to do. Create a guidebook of some sort, where to start, what to do. I think that amazing examples would be support Ukraine now. They have done something of that sort, like a rule book on what the team has done, where they have done it. So I think, Abid, thank you for reminding me, and also they being an example. I do want to write a guidebook on where do we start, what is the first step, the thought process, even the thought process, like where do we start if a disaster, God forbid, comes. That is something. There is another thing that I'm currently sort of brainstorming and working with a group of someone from the forum and policymakers in Pakistan on climate adaptation strategies. On that would be complementary to what the government is doing existingly. So that's something. So these are the things that I think they're public good, and they will be useful for many other people. So thank you for reminding me. I've not yet done it, but I will work on it.
Thank you so much for joining with us today and sharing your insight and expertise. It was a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time, Sikandar.
No, no, thank you. Thank you for having me. It was an equal pleasure for me to be with you.
Thank you.